Welcome. Okay, can you just give everyone a little bit about you and then let's dive into language arts. I'm excited.
Okay, I'm Michaela. I have 5 children and I am working in 3 different forms right now. I've got a Form 1, a Form 2, and a Form 3, and then a 4-year-old and a 6-month-old. So days get a
Amazing.
little chaotic around here. So I was going to do a Form 1, and then my daughter dropped her binder and all of her pages went everywhere. So we're going to
Yeah,
do a Form 2 lesson
because
instead.
this is what actually happens on a Tuesday morning, people.
This
We
is
are keeping
life
it real over here. This is not Pinterest perfection. I love it.
for real. So For because I have 3 different forms, they are doing 3 different books, 3 different packets. So I print them by term and put them in a binder, and I just put name stickers on them so that they know who's whose because they all
I
look the
love it.
same. The first day of the week is always copy work. So that's super simple. I just have them do copy work. And then for the boys, the older 2 forms, I make them pick 10 words to just write out, whether they are familiar with them or not, if they think they need to study them. They write those out as part of their copy work. And then they look at those every day so that when we do dictation, they're familiar with the words that may have been a little bit more sketchy to them
Can
at the
you
beginning of the
explain
week.
what dictation is for some people who may not know
Yes.
what that
So I'm
is?
going to work
Oh,
through.
okay.
And so
Love it.
dictation
Sorry.
is the last day of the week. So I'll work through kind of
Okay, perfect.
until that. I figured it was easier instead of doing one day to
Yeah,
show
I love it.
everything. So they do copy work and you can print it. I'm just showing it this way because I feel like it's a little simpler, but
Yeah.
they do copy work. You can print it in print or cursive. So he'll do his copy work, and then the next page has spots for spelling words. He likes to write them in a notebook instead. So this page doesn't have anything on it. But day 2 is always a drawing. So sometimes Julie has put, there's links sometimes for a video tutorial for them to draw the thing, or a link that is a picture that they can copy. A lot of times it's just their imagination, which is my favorite one because then I'm always like, what are they going to come up with for this? But it's always related to the copy work. So this one was Toad Hall, and he drew this whole building. And I don't even remember what all he was explaining it to me. And it was so funny because he's talking about these bugs are running and they're playing music, they're having a party, and there's a spider web because they have a friend that's a spider. This whole thing about Toad Hall where they're having a ball. And then he has to write a composition about a party at Toad Hall for day 3. So day 1 is copy work. Day 2 is drawing, which is usually really simple, can be as complicated as they want it to be. Day 3 is composition, and it just has a prompt. So this one was write about a party at Toad Hall. So he says Toad invited his friends. He invited 10 friends. They had punch. Toad ate all the fish. Like,
I love it.
and then day 4 is grammar focus. So for form 1, they go back and forth between phonics and grammar. Sometimes it's pictures where they're cutting words out and matching them or rhyming. They have like spots where they can fill things in. I'm just going through the mess of the pile over here of all of her pages that are everywhere. But then as they move into form 2, then they have this is verb tenses. So since I have so many kids and they're all in different forms, a lot of times what I do is I'll sit with my form 1 while she does her language arts and work through it while the boys do theirs independently and then bring it to me and we go over it. So this talks about verb tenses and explains it to them and gives them examples. And then there are exercises where they have to fill it in. So this was suppose it is spring now. In the spring, the sun shines, the snow melts, and then the water, and you have to fill in things for the tenses. So
Mhm.
he just had to come up with what tense matched the example. So the beginning, it says the water melts, the grass grows. So he has to match the tense. And then there's exercises 2 and 3 where it asks questions. Are you looking forward to summer? Use future tense verbs to write about what you will do. So he was able to say, I will swim in the pool, I will pull weeds, I will work in the garden. So that is our grammar focus. And then for day 5 is dictation. So this whole week, all 5 days, you're working on them reading the passage and working on their spelling words as they do each day's exercise or whatever is allotted for that day. And then the last day, there is a page at the end of the week that says dictation. And you can use that. My kids also really like to do those in a notebook so they can keep them all in one place because, as we can see, sometimes binders get dropped and everything goes away. So they have just spiral notebooks that they keep, but it looks like this if you wanted to do it in here. And then as mom, all you do is read the passage and they write it. It's just like when you were in school, when you did spelling tests, you just read it out and they do it. And then you can go through and you can work through it after they're done. You kind of grade it, for lack of a better word, just review it. And I take
Mhm.
a colored pen and I'll just circle and be like, hey, do you remember we did this? And this word needed to be spelled like this, or go through it with them, or let them read it and tell me what I circled and why. And that way they get a different view. If they're reviewing it themselves, they can say, oh, this is why mom circled this one. And that's language arts.
So when I first started homeschooling, it was like I had a book for spelling and a book for handwriting and a book for grammar and a book for vocabulary and a book for writing. And there were like 6 workbooks just for language arts. And language arts would take like 2 hours a day. So the way Charlotte Mason
Mhm.
do it, it's what you're describing here. How long would you say each day typically takes for language arts?
Maybe 20 minutes, depending on if they have a long copywork passage or if they're drawing for an extra amount of time. It's maybe 20 minutes. But for grammar and stuff, it takes them 15 minutes to work through it.
Yeah. And then it is integrated. So they're learning the spelling, the vocabulary in an integrated way. It's not just busy. So
Yeah.
can you talk a little bit about the spelling and the copy work and the kind of integrating it all together and how that is?
So for us, we just do spelling as part of that copy work. And then when you do dictation, so they work through the spelling words and I have them write them every day just so that they can become familiar with those words. And a lot of times, like I said, for the form one, they have the words assigned. So they are words that usually go with the phonics focus. So they're working through those things. And then for the older kids, the spelling just works itself into every day. So if they're reading the passage and they're writing it, they're working through those words instead of just rote memorization. They're
Mhm.
working through them in an actual passage so that they are understanding them, not just understanding how to spell them. And I really love that because I feel like spelling and vocabulary go hand in hand here, and it's not like two separate subjects. They're working through that with grammar, with punctuation, with everything else. When they're doing dictation, instead of doing a spelling test, they're remembering the punctuation from from the copywork passage. They're remembering the spelling and the grammar and all of the things in one space and not having to do separate, I don't know, exercises to understand them. I love that it all works together and they all really like that the passages go with things that they're either reading for history or literature, and their copywork passages come directly from the things they're working through in
Mhm.
other subjects. So they all tie together in a
Mhm.
completely different way to create that memorization as well.
Yeah, it's just a deeper level of what they might be reading or discussing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I really appreciate that. And yes, there can be a lot of language arts questions, but I just want you guys to experience that. Can you show the copy work again?
Yeah.
So, yes, the dictation does come from the copy work, and you start as your kids are able. So, your child in 4th grade might only be able to do one sentence for their dictation.
Yeah.
You read it and
So
they write it.
this is
Yeah.
a blank one.
And then you build from there as they can learn more and do more, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect.